Okay, here we go. Preparations for a Taste of Chihuahua, and specifically for the Taste of Chihuahua art auction, have begun. That event will be happening on Thursday, September 12th. The art auction happens at Quartzsite Brewery. So today, I am so happy to have two artists in the studio, Nondis Taylor and Red Burnell. The idea for this show, Artists on the Air, evolved over years of getting to know our local artists, occasionally, sometimes frequently, asking our artists for donations, and feeling gratitude for their generosity. A twinge of feeling more than gratitude turned into questioning, how do we, the Chihuahua Arts Guild, give back to these artists? How do we honor and promote them? Voila! Here we are with Artists on the Air. It is our intention to promote and honor a sampling of artists who have supported our efforts along the way. You two are debuting this show. So let's get started. So we're going to start with asking you who you are.
Oh.
So, Nondis, who are you?
I'm Nondis Taylor. Do you want me to tell you where I grew up and all that?
Tell us everything.
Oh, my.
Start from the beginning.
That's going to be good.
So I was born in the St. Joseph's Hospital here back when it was a little brick building. In Chihuahua, I was Nondis Hafer was my maiden name, and I grew up on Farm to Market Road, about a mile from the house I live in now on Farm to Market Road, which was my grandparents'. Went to school, of course, at Chihuahua Elementary, Jenkins Junior High School, and Senior High School, and then later moved to Seattle and Portland, which is where I got my degree in fine arts at Marylhurst University, which is a private Catholic college. And that's where I met Tim and got married and raised 4 kids there. And then decided once they were raised to move back to Chihuahua. And so we moved back in 2015. And and we've been here ever since. We kind of happened into opening an art gallery because we had extra space at Tim's studio, which was for his jewelry making. And it just kind of grew from there. And now it's on Main Street, and it's a lot of fun for both of us, and it's given us an opportunity to get to meet a lot of the local artists and get to be part of the community, which is a very rich and vibrant culture, I think, that we have here.
Great, yeah. Okay, Red, tell us who you are.
Well, my official name is actually Catherine, to let everybody know.
Okay.
Catherine Burnell. But everybody calls me Red, and that's how I go, my artist name and so forth. But I was born back in the 50s in Southern California on the cliffs on a dirt road. My parents, Ed and Marcella Burnell, were both very creative people. My mother did felt hats for Macy's in New York when she was younger, and my father was an engineer. I moved to Chihuahua 25 years ago and started my studio again about 8 to 9 years ago now. But I've been doing my art since the mid-'60s. I did not always have a studio, but I always kept in play with it. So that's pretty much who I am.
Well, I have some questions about your art, Red. So I heard through the grapevine, there's lots of grapevines, you know.
Yes.
But I heard through the grapevine that you used to paint surfboards.
Yes, I was an airbrusher. I did a lot of airbrushing for some of the major surfing companies down in Southern California, Dewey Weber, Jacobs, ET surfboards, a lot of independent surfboard companies, and then also individuals. And I still really enjoy airbrushing, even though I'm not dabbling in it right now. I do still have all my equipment, But I take that back. I do dabble in it a little bit. I do airbrush some of my pottery.
You know, for a second, I was surprised by that, and then I was like, no, never mind. That's not surprising at all, actually.
Okay, so you're not airbrushing so much maybe anymore. What is your medium now, Red?
My medium now is ceramics, pottery, playing in the mud. I just love how I can go into my studio and pretty much just my mind just is in the moment of what's in front of me. And I think for me, living 10 miles up the mountain like I do, getting to embrace the power of being alone, being in my studio is one of those things that brings me the peace of being alone. So it's amazing. And I really enjoy when people that do come to visit get to play in the mud. I have a door, as Nondis can testify to this, that has anyone that's ever been in my studio has mudded up their hands and signed it with the mud print and signed it. So it's, I think my youngest is 2 and my oldest was 88.
Wow, that's a creative piece in itself.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Nondis, tell us about your medium.
Currently, it's sculpture, ceramic sculpture, and so there's a lot of different ways to do ceramics, and I find myself really drawn to working with flat slabs of clay that I form into whatever shape that I desire. And I think that attraction to that, I can go into my studio and literally spend hours there and not realize where the time's gone. Yeah. But I think what's so attractive to me about that is I sewed for years, and I learned to sew when I was 10. And so I got very good, and I did custom ball gowns and wedding dresses, and anyway, so I got real good at figuring out how to take something flat and turn it into a three-dimensional object. And so I feel very comfortable with taking a flat piece of clay and turning it into a human form, or a fish, or a cat, or a mug, whatever I decide I want to make it into.
That's interesting. Okay, I am glad to hear about your sewing skill. So, speaking of sewing, I don't know if you sewed your gown for the trash parade, but tell us about your trash parade gown that you made.
Oh, so if anybody doesn't know about the trash parade, so it was the Creative District's ball that they had last New Year's Eve, and it was a competition, and so you needed to make a ball gown or some clothing or jewelry, and that was completely out of trash. And so I love that idea, and so I wanted to make sure that my gown was completely out of things that would have been heading to the landfill. So I made my gown out of chicken scratch bags. I have chickens. And I think I used about 10 chicken scratch bags, but I didn't have quite enough because I wanted a ball gown. I wanted something big, and it wasn't really fluffy, but it had many layers and was pretty ornate. And I needed a little bit more of something to make the skirt as big as I wanted, and I didn't know what to use. And so about that time, some guy drives by our house, and these tarps flew out of his truck and landed in our yard. And so I went and looked at them, and they were not new. They were pretty beat up, but I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to use a tarp. So it's chicken scratch bags and tarps, and I use some other things like the little vegetable netting that your fruit and vegetables come in, and just some various things like that. But and it was sewn and duct tape, kind of a combination.
duct tape does work for everything.
Oh, it does.
It
Yes.
does. What
Yeah.
would we do? That would be the only not repurposed thing in my gown.
And I'm sorry, did you mention she actually won? She won that fashion show from there? Or
I
were you
did
going
not
to?
mention that
Oh, I'm sorry.
because you are.
I'm sorry. I didn't
You
even
are.
Oh, I am now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I shameless plug too. The Trash Grade Ball is happening again this year. So anybody
Woohoo.
that's interested in joining, it was an amazing fun night.
It was a
Yeah.
fun,
And,
fun
and
night.
Yeah,
Definitely.
people that want to get out there and get working on those costumes should probably start now.
Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
going to name any names, but I know there's somebody that has already started.
Oh, I'm sure. I've talked to a
Uh-huh.
couple people that have already started theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I
Yeah.
got to get going too. Yeah, it was so much fun. And one of the things I have to say, okay, so I'm over 60. And one of the things I really enjoyed about it was we celebrated New York time, New Year's Eve. So yeah, it was good for people like me.
That didn't have to stay up till midnight.
Didn't have to stay up till midnight. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to go home at a decent hour and still had a really good time. So yeah, it was fun.
So you're hearing from both of these women that they're highly creative and have fun with their art. Red, who has influenced your art? Who do you admire?
Well, I'm going to say, I'm going to give credit where the beginning of my drawing probably came in. And this might sound a little strange to a few people, but it's the truth. It was, I have to thank the nuns at St. Lawrence School
Yeah.
for sticking me in a coat closet all those years ago. Because if they hadn't, I wouldn't have been drawing all day long. But that's a true story.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
But, and that's where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
There is a couple of artists that I really appreciate. And Yasuta, which is a Japanese artist. I believe he's in the UK now. His whole philosophy and his whole demeanor of how to create and just be in the moment is amazing. To watch him and to listen to him talk, it just, you pick up the peace in his tranquility that this guy's putting out, just even over the radio or over the TV or wherever you're watching him. And then the other one is Mary Fox. She's actually a woman out of Canada, artist out of Canada, and I really admire her drive that she came through a very radical medical situation for years of her life where I'm not sure on the time, like it could have been 5 years, could have been 10 years, where she couldn't even create. And then she came through and started creating again, and now has made a sort of a school input for budding artists to come and stay and be, so they can be, and they're actually paid through for their stay at her studio through other donations that people buy from buying her book, from buying her pottery. It's amazing how she's given back to the creativity of young potters that might not be able to afford to go to a school or to go to a college or whatever. And so I just really admire her as a person and how she gives back to the community in that way. Those two, I think, there's so many amazing artists out there, I mean, I'm sitting next to one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nondis is amazing. And so, yeah, I really enjoy that, to listen to other artists, to listen to other imports, because I really think that really art is just, it's a personal opinion, what art is. We all have our opinions. There isn't a right and there isn't a wrong when we're artists. If it gives somebody peace and joy when they're creating, no matter what it is, it's art. And that's what it should be about, just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
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 Can I touch on something real quick? That's
Yes.
something you said. I've heard several people, even my wife included, struggling with the notion of calling themselves artists.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said, I thought was beautiful. And just this idea that you can be an artist without it being what you do for a living, or without it being necessarily who you are. Art is an idea; it's what you create.
Yeah.
And this I think there's a lot of people that can call themselves artists that would never use the term for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I know some of us are facilitators, some of us are artists. And Diane, thank you for all the. Speaking of facilitator,
Yes,
wow,
definitely.
Diane Evans, you have done so much for this town
Yes,
over the years for facilitating the artists and the creative community in this town. So I just want to take a moment and thank you for that.
Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Yeah,
It's
thank
in my
you.
heart. It's in my
It
heart.
is. And you can feel that. You
Yeah.
really can.
Okay. So, Nondis, I know that you may be embarking on a new kind of series
Yeah.
that you're going to do. So, would you like to talk about that?
Oh, sure. So I don't know how it caught my eye exactly, but I'm really attracted to like line and movement and sculpted form. And I was just noticing how beautiful fish are. And I decided I wanted to make a humpback salmon because I just think their shape is really interesting. And we've just happened to be Red invited a bunch of us up to do raku firing at her house. And so we were all creating things, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to create a humpback salmon and fire that up at Red's house. So I did this humpback salmon, and I was like, this is really cool. And I made it so it could rest on its fins on like a table, and it had movement to its tail. And anyway, so it looked like it was swimming on this tail or on your table. So anyways, that kind of started it off. And then I was like, gosh, I think I'd really like to concentrate on fish in our streams, our local streams. And so I started, so sometimes I do art on the fly, sometimes I research it. And so in this case, I realized I had no idea what trout really look like. And so I started researching them and asking friends and people that I knew that fished, like, okay, what are fish eyes actually flat? Are they? I've only seen them sunken in the store. Like, what do they really look like when they're fresh? Are they round? Are they, what's going on? Anyway, and then I started collecting images and to make a long story short. So now I'm working on the 14 species of trout that, and I'm concentrating on. Because there's 14 species of trout in the United States. I'm concentrating on the ones in our area first. So I've got a rainbow, a red band, and a cutthroat that I'm working on currently. So they're not glazed yet, but I've created the fish bodies. So anyway.
I think that's really interesting.
Very
I do.
fun. Very fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of beauty, but at the same time, it's making me hungry.
Yeah, and delicious.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you've talked a little bit, Nondis, about how your art has evolved over time. So as a younger person, you sewed, but I also know that you told me once that your mom really encouraged you to create. So do you have a special story about a time when you created when you were a younger person that either turned out really well or didn't turn out?
Oh, well, I used to wait until, this is one that didn't turn out really well. So I was 10, and I had waited till my parents left. I don't remember where they went, but they were gone for the day or something. And I decided I was going to teach myself how to sew. And so I found some fabric of my mom's and I was going to make a suit. And so that's not really a beginner project, but I didn't know that. So anyway, needless to say, I completely wasted all this fabric, and it was actually something my mom liked. So that wasn't real good. But my parents were very supportive of art and of me doing art, and they would allow me to, like, every year I would completely redo my bedroom, and it included sewing drapes and bed comforters as well as murals on the wall. Sometimes I built things, and they actually let me do all that, which was really nice. But I did spend a lot of time just painting watercolors, hiking, and back up the mountain. I grew up on the base of Wrights Mountain and would hike all over or ride my horse with my watercolors and some paper and paint. And anyway, so they were very helpful in that.
Yeah, that's a good story. Do you have a fun story, Red?
A fun story. Well, probably a lot of them. Ones that come to mind. I do. There was the time when I was out in my studio and somebody asked me why I don't have a clock out there. And I said, because when you walk in the door, it's about not time. It's about the moment. And I was doing a piece, and the other woman was doing a piece, and she was not new into pottery, but getting back into playing. And I had been working on a piece, and how do I put this? There was a moment that I realized there was a gentleman that had first said a statement one time that when it finally clicked to me, it made my creativity a lot easier when things didn't go the way I thought they should have been going, or if a piece got destroyed, or so it's only clay, you can make another one. So I'd been making this piece, and it was a fairly large piece. And she was there, and she was making her piece, and all of a sudden I picked this piece up, and I go to walk outside, and she goes, well, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to just take care of this piece. And so she walked outside, and I threw it up into the air, and it came down and smashed onto the ground. And she was traumatized. And I said, it's only clay. I can make another one. And it makes it so much easier when things sometimes don't go the way you think they're supposed to go in creativity. So,
which happens often, at least for me.
I would have shared that trauma. That would have been really hard on me. So I do want to spend some time talking about a trip that the two of you just recently took, and how that even became a reality for both of you, and the journey that you went on and the results. And
Red made me do it.
I was going to take the fault for this one. It started with me, and I said, Nondis, let's step outside the box. Let's go do this art show it's called Magic Valley Art, and it's down in Twin Falls. I wasn't paying attention. I said, let's go do this. Well, I didn't realize it was 9 hours away. And so we both signed up for this thing, and then we both start the reality of this whole thing, that it's 9 hours away, and you have to set up your own pieces, and you have to take down your own pieces. The reality of the whole thing sort of hit home, but it really actually turned out.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. It really was. I'll let her pipe in on some of this, but I'll take the blame for that part of it.
It was so fun. I'm so glad I have a friend that gets me into trouble, because we literally signed up for this thing and we're all excited about it, and it has huge prize money. So we had money motivation and fame, and that's all you need, and we're like, and it's just Idaho.
Yeah.
And so then we looked at the map, like not for months, like 2 weeks before we had to go, we're looking at the map and going, oh, this isn't like Sandpoint. This is Twin Falls, Idaho. This is I think it's more than 9 hour drive. It was a long drive. So it was like 2 day trip down, 2 day trip back. But it was fun. We had a really good time, going both directions. And I think it was a good experience. Red won an award. My piece sold, so it's successful from that point. That was my Raku salmon. I called him Raku Humpy. And anyway, so we decided from that, like, next time we're gonna look at a map, figure out where. I would do it again, though.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean,
Just
stepping
get
in.
more people
Yeah.
to come with us.
Yes, exactly. Make it a road trip.
Well, and when Red asks you to do something, you say yes. Because you want to. No.
Well, I always was just looking. It's like, let's step outside the box. Let's challenge ourselves as artists. Let's get into new, not necessarily the competition side of it, but to challenge ourselves with other artists in other mediums. Because when she was talking about prize money, they give out $50,000 in prize money, and we were both by the end of it really hoping. I'm going to just say this: hoping that both of our pieces sold, so we didn't have to drive back. But we would have.
Yeah.
We would have. Fortunately, her piece did sell. And fortunately for me, I had a friend, Leslie Lambert, actually goes down there a lot. And I asked her, I said, are you going back down? And she said she was going back down for the reward. And so I asked her if she'd pick up my piece.
Nice.
And because I didn't feel that Nondis, because she was going to go visit a friend in Montana, should have to be the responsible and pick up my own piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
So Leslie did do that. And she did say, hey, can I step in if you guys win an award? And I'm all like, if we're so blessed, please do, step up for us, So it's nice to have people in nice places sometimes that will do that. But I would do it again.
I would do it again. I think so it just happened to be a little stressful because we didn't realize it was falling right between the actual plein air festivals, like doing the art, which I was part of, doing art, and the following First Thursday, where the art was all displayed. And so Tim had figured this out way ahead of us for some reason, and it was like wondering when we were going to catch on, but we finally did. And so we ended up figuring out how to do it, and we had to be very strategic getting down there and getting back.
It was definitely a kamikaze run, and this woman right here, when she's on the road and she's in the mood, she's like jamming. She drives. She knows how to drive.
There's lots of straight stretches.
So, Red, we heard about Raku Humpy. What was your piece?
I actually had a Raku piece into. It was the horn vessel that was the blue horn vessel that I had in Tim's gallery. And I want to give a shout out to Tim right now because if it wasn't for Tim and Nondis actually too, inviting me a few years back to be in a show and give me a real big break in a gallery showing atmosphere, who knows what where I'd be or whatever. But I wanted to thank them immensely for their kindness and allowing me to be their ceramist in the gallery.
It has been our pleasure. We love your art.
Thank you. But it was that blue piece with the antler horns as the holder, and I believe actually Leslie Lambert is actually buying it from me. The one that picked it up, she fell in love with it, and I thank her for that. And I can't say what she's going to do with it because it's a surprise for somebody.
Oh,
so I won't.
Okay.
I won't go any further on that. But
Success all the way around.
yes.
So I probably saw one of your first pieces in the gallery years ago, and it had horsehair in it.
Yes.
And it was just beautiful. And I can't remember, we were on our way somewhere or whatever, but I commented on it, and for a while you kept asking me, do you want me to make you a piece? Do you want me to make you a piece? But so tell us how you got the idea to incorporate horsehair in your vases or pieces or.
Well, I can't take the credit as me being the original icon on that. Raku has been around since the 16th century, and there's many facets of the Raku family, and not just from the horse hairs and the feathers that you can add to them, but the saga firing where you can put it in foil and add like sawdust or miracle grow or seaweed or any of that, and wrap it up and put that in the fire. So there's a lot of variation.
Yeah, you should describe what Raku is for our listeners.
Okay, so Raku basically is you have a bisque piece, and over trial and error, I've come to find that O10 firing, which is the best way for thermal shock not to happen. You basically put a piece into a kiln and I use a gas kiln for rakuing, and you bring it up to about 1800 degrees, and then you proceed to open the kiln at 1800 degrees. Obviously, you have tongs and gloves on. You pull the piece out, and with as far as the horsehair goes that you're asking about, Diane, you basically will put it down on a hot pad, and you start to lay the hair onto the piece, or you lay the feather onto the piece. There's a happy spot there. Whereas if you put it on when it's too hot, it will just disintegrate. Or if you put it on when it's too cold, it doesn't do anything. So there's that happy medium in between, usually about 14 to 1500 degrees, where it will basically suck onto the piece of pottery and cause a carbon reaction and embed itself into it. And it's fun.
It's really fun.
Yes, we turn into pyros.
Yeah.
The Sisters of Fire, we call ourselves now.
Yeah. There's a group of us.
There's a group of us
We
now.
get together and burn up stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. We're going to have our second annual one here pretty soon. I
Pretty
think.
soon. We got to
Oh.
get that done.
That's cute.
Yeah.
You can interpret this any way you want to, and I want you to answer it separately. But what has been your most successful work so far?
Body of work or individual piece?
Individual. Well, I'm going to repeat myself. You can interpret this any way you want to.
Oh, that's really hard.
I'll go first.
Okay.
That way you have time to think. There was a friend of mine that I had known for many years from my previous. How would I say this? Just previous acquaintance when I owned another business, and I had no idea that his wife had passed. But he called me one time, and I hadn't seen him for a few years, and he called me and he said, asked me if I would make him an urn for his wife's ashes. And I was honored. And at the time, I didn't. He was thinking 2 to 3 weeks, and I said, "Well, it takes me longer than that." I said, "But I do have a piece down here at the gallery, and Trails End." I said, "I will send a picture of it to you, and if you prefer it, I will pull it from the gallery." And he said it was something that his wife would have loved, and it was a horsehair, owl feather with amethyst on top. He came down and he purchased it. And about 2 weeks later, he sent me a picture of him holding this urn in a beautiful sunset. And that to me was the biggest honor as an artist I've ever had.
Yep, I can hear that.
That's so cool. I don't have anything that cool. I was thinking about that question though, and I did do a show while I lived in Portland that was a lot of fun and was very successful, and it was paintings, and they were all about 24 inches wide, about 48 inches tall, and they were based on my vegetable garden. And I used to be able to grow a really good garden in Portland. I do terrible at it here for some reason. But anyway, I had things happen, like I pulled this potato out of the ground, and it was all these potatoes that had grown together, and they looked like a baby. And so, for example, I did a painting called Potato Baby's Underground Lair. And that was just a real fun it was this imagining of what the potato baby's life underground would have looked like, and I did it on gold leaf with all the roots and stuff. Anyway, it was really cool.
Wow, sounds cool.
Yeah, and then I did one about radish rings and one about green onion. I mean, it sounds crazy, but they turned out really beautifully, and it was a very fun show, and they sold. So
I was going to ask you what happened to all those pieces.
they're gone.
They're gone. They're hanging in somebody's home.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything you want to interject here, Chuck?
You know, not really. I just want to thank you guys for doing this, and maybe if we could talk a little bit about the reason, sort of the reason why we're not why we're doing this. Obviously, we want to do this especially for promoting our local artists and promoting the Taste of Chihuahua, which is an amazing, awesome, must-do event every year, put on by the Chihuahua Arts Guild. We'd like to thank the city of Chihuahua for this show is being sponsored through KCHW through the City Hotel Motel funds that's allowing us to put together a series of shows where we're allowing nonprofits to highlight individuals, businesses, artists who are doing amazing things in town. And this is a way to highlight sort of what the I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say something else. The Arts Guild is doing, and have them be the ones to highlight these great artists that we have that are putting pieces in towards the Taste of Chihuahua event. I'm really excited about it. I've been working on this program for a long time, and me personally, I'm excited to sit here and hear this happening and just be in the room while it's happening. So thank you guys so much, and thank you to the Arts Guild for coming and bringing this to us, because I've been looking for a way to get into this program, and I think this is a beautiful thing. I'm excited to do it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Diane.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening today, and especially want to thank Nondis and Red for sharing their stories. You can listen in next week, same day, same time, and we'll have one or two more artists. And you'll see a piece of art from Red and Nondis at the art auction on Thursday, September 12th. So mark your calendars, and we'll see you there.
Well, Dan, really quick before we get off, tell us a little more about the Taste of Chihuahua and where people can get their tickets, when those tickets will be available, some information. Promote the event, Diane.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So my focus is really on the art auction.
Right.
And I do know a little bit about Taste of Chihuahua. I think Nondis and Red might be able to help me a little bit too. I think, are we into this 10 years, Nondis, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
been quite. I just look forward to it every year. It's
Yeah.
so much fun.
I
Yeah.
know I moved here in 2017, and already when we first moved here, it was like, oh, hey, have you gotten your tickets to the Taste of Chihuahua yet?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
'Cause
and
you need to do that.
I moved back in 2015, and it was going on. So that's
Okay,
Mhm.
so
10
yeah,
years.
Yeah.
we're close on that fact maybe. It's the Taste of Chihuahua is really to showcase our local restaurants, and the restaurants are asked to do a signature dish. It's not a meal by any means, but if you make all of the restaurants, which there are 11 this year, you will have eaten a meal. So the individual restaurants try to serve their signature dish, and I know that I don't know what people are doing this year, but I know in the past Sporty's has had this mushroom soup that is to die for.
You were talking about that, and the first thing that popped into my mind was that mushroom soup.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the tickets will be available at Valley Drug and Acres United Drug, and on our website, ChihuahuaArtsGuild.org. There's a lot of information on our website. We have a great website. We have a great webmaster, and so yeah, and it sells out every year. So you can't wait and try to decide if you want to go to the Taste of Chihuahua on September 11th, because you probably
You
ain't
won't
going.
get tickets.
No.
So anyway, yeah, it's a really fun event. There's street musicians and food and art and friends. It's a great event.
Outstanding. And I'm sorry, did you say the tickets are already on sale, or do you have a date when they're going to be on sale if they're not yet?
They're going to be on sale soon.
Soon. Okay. That's good. Like it matters. They're going to sell out. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a 3, 2, 1 go when those tickets go for sale.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hold on and run.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to thank you guys so much. Are we ready to wrap things up here?
We're ready to wrap things up unless Nondis and Red want to tell one more story.
Any parting words of wisdom?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. No.
No.
I'll,
All right.
I'll give 2 cents worth.
Okay.
there you go.
Please.
Because
do.
you made a comment earlier and about artists.
Yeah.
And how certain artists or people that don't think they're artists.
Mhm.
I just want to say that if you've made something with your hands, whether it be big or small, and it has brought peace to your heart or your spirit, call yourself an artist.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. And that is an excellent note to end on. I want to thank everyone for listening, for tuning in to KCHW. You can stay tuned right here tonight. We have Dr. Jazz from 6 to 8 p.m. And then from, from 6 to 9 p.m. And then from 9 to midnight, we have the Soul Show with Mike Kenton. And yes, thank you all so much for listening. You're listening to KCHW 102.7, your Northern Lights Public Radio.